two, three, I can move, I can groove, come and follow me. I'm taking the lead, yeah, that's right, I'm queen. If you know what's good, come and follow me, cause it's about to go down. If you wanna make your highness proud, I'm taking the lead like one, two, three. Come and follow me.
It's wet here today, and we're expecting the downpours to continue. This will make for a difficult sprint for all the teams. It's 10 to the left, 10 to the right. I'm not talking about the line dance, I'm talking about the corners here and the fantastic circuit of the Americas. Overtaking opportunities into turn 1 and turn 12 at this anti-clockwise 3.6 mile track, but we may well see cars struggle down there today as the weather interferes with the low grip speed. Just ready to try the grid order of today's exciting sprint. Golden Boy lines up on pole position, and Max Verstappen lines up on the side. Considering the rest of the grid we have Norris, Oscar Piastri, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Stroll, Albon, Leclerc, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Gasly, Bottas, Ocon, Ricciardo, Magnussen, Hulkenberg, Sargent, and Juan. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We will soon find out. Welcome to the commentary box and welcome to Naomi's shift. I'm Alex Shakes. Naomi, this is going to be interesting. So, a sprint race today, and that means lights to flag, no stops. And how is that going to affect the driver behind the wheel? Well, they say you're only as good as your last race. And on evidence there, that was very good indeed. How do they carry that form through to today?
Well, they're certainly in a great position. It's always great to just come off of a win. The momentum's there, the team are working well together, and so is the car. So what they've got to do is just keep building on that. Don't change your formula, keep it simple, and keep doing what you're doing.
how was that pull away? You'll have a bit more grip than that on the start, but we need to warm the tyres properly now. Make sure you get some heat into the brakes as well. Okay, not the best placement there, mate. Let's try and get a good launch as the race starts. Okay, so that's the rest of the grid forming up now. Be patient and watch for those lights. Watch out for understeer in the wake of the car ahead. Try to get past as quickly as you can. Push, push.
Okay, clear. Right, there's a big incident in front of you. Red flag, red flag. We'll update you in the pits. Everyone's okay. Okay. Far, but this is a chance to take a breath. We've got another half of this race to go, and there's still a big opportunity there. Okay. In just a moment, stand by. now enabled DRS. DRS is now online. Green flag. Here's some information on Tsunoda for you. They're retiring from the race. Good job, nice overtake. That's P1, and Verstappen's behind. Less than a second separates you. They're on fresh mediums. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. Let's go. 13 laps to go. position, front of the pack. Verstappen behind you now. They're on fresh mediums. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now. And 11 laps to go. Slow down before hitting the corners. We don't want to get a penalty. Okay, we've been given a time penalty. It will go against our finishing time at the end of the race. Get your head down and let's get it done. Okay, some information on Norris. Okay, they're slowing down. It seems like there's some kind of problem with their car. Okay, mate, this is the final lap of the race. Final lap.
The end of the sprint action. Next up, we will set the grid for the Grand Prix. We'll see you next time.
Final lap! Come on, Jan! Final lap of the spring! You got a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. It's 3.5 ahead of Verstappen. Go, Jan! Very close. We survived the red flag. Let's go, yeah. The tires are clearly going nice. Come on. Chicken fight! Did we make it? Did we make it? Did we make it? Well, we made it! Yes! Yes, we are the spring winners! Wow, so you can see, the spring. Obviously it's done this way, so without, the actual celebration, but we got it! So, we definitely made up for the last year where we finished, obviously, second in a sprint to Russell, where we couldn't have matched him. But here, it was very, very confusing, right? At the end, the penalty had to be counted where Verstappen finished, but yeah, in the end, we of course made it. Let's go, Jan Svalik's champion! And let's, probably, shall we, let's take a look exactly how it finished. So, great result for us. I have to say, the race, usually sprint is obviously a one-stopper, right? It's a 1/3 of the distance, 100 kilometers. So, as you can see over here, we have last 6 Grand Prix, and the 3 of them will have a sprint. So now I won the 3 out of 4 sprints in the 2024 season. That's my record. I'm a 5-time sprint winner officially, but yeah, I had to work very, very hard for it. It reminded me of some of the difficult sprints at the beginning. It was raining a little bit, so we all started on the intermediates, but the track was quite dry. But I have to say, I couldn't quite keep up with Verstappen. I was a couple of tenths slower, but I think it was like 2 or 3. Basically, then there was the red flag, right? Something happened behind us. I don't know exactly what, but let me tell you what that meant was that we could have changed to the soft tires and we were dominant. Once we put on the mediums, we had a poor start, so everybody had mediums, right? Because the softs probably wouldn't last. We had a rather poor start, so we lost to Verstappen at the beginning of the real start of the sprint race, and then after the restart we lost to Norris. So no matter if I'm on the right or left hand side, I have to work on it. They are pretty good, obviously. The race is up the hill, right? So up the hill, the Ferraris maybe not as strong as Red Bull or McLaren, but very quickly I dispatched McLaren. Then I very quickly dispatched Verstappen. Just had so much speed down the main straight. I was even surprised and just took my opportunity, and then the gap established at about 2 seconds, but I was kind of struggling, to make it through some of the corners. I got the 3-second time penalty, so then I had to really push. And you can see it was very, very close. So we can see obviously over here. So yeah, if we take a look exactly what happened and by how much we won, 0.399 seconds. So yeah, and yeah, that is also our 22nd second fastest lap of the season. Obviously 19 Grand Prix, 18 Grand Prix, 4 sprints. You know, we had the fastest lap that was 1 second faster, so really should have gone for it. But yeah, but an amazing sprint weekend. You know, I really greatly enjoyed it over here, and yeah, we can be pretty much happy about it. So hope you enjoyed, you know, that last lap. You could feel the tension. You know, I couldn't really afford any mistakes, but you know, I still took it easy in a couple of the corners, but only had 0.3 seconds in it. And yeah, I've gotten the first 8 out of the 18 points that I need to become a 4-time Scuderia Ferrari Formula 1 World Champion. So you know, very close. Very close. The race sadly probably will be all wet, so who knows if we can win it, but we will definitely be going for it. Obviously we won in every weekend pretty much that we sprint weekend that we competed. Obviously Monaco, Monza and Baku being the outliers, so great result. Wow, you know, that was a lot of fun. You know, love and miss these obviously short races. Again, you know, we had how many, you know, without them 7 Grand Prix. And now we are back. Let's go, Alexa champion, Forza Ferrari, and let's go for drivers, maybe even constructors championship here in the land where the prancing horses dominate. Hello everybody and welcome here to the home of Alexa champion and almost 4-time Ferrari Formula 1 World Drivers Champion, of course. Wow. So you guys finally, you know, we made up for the disappointment of the last year, as you've obviously seen that very tense first lap as I was driving it with the SF1000T in my Formula 1 racing simulator, as I finally made it across the finishing line despite the 3-second time penalty that you can see here in the first place to record my first ever the United States sprint race victory. It feels, you know, ever so great, and it gives us the first 8, as I said, points of the 18 that I need in order to become that 4-time Formula 1 World Champion, because now it's basically all in my hands. So no matter where my main rivals will finish, you know, I will not be lifting only this shiny golden Formula 1 Grand Prix winner trophy, and obviously you know, I want to be you know, on the receiving end of this shiny gold that Paris 2024 inspired you know, Formula 1 Grand Prix winner medal, but also, and I'm sure you guys are very excited for it, you know, I will be getting that what is effectively a silver Formula 1 Drivers Championship. But before that, me, Ferrari's obviously biggest fan and Ferrari's fastest driver, I have to tell you, as I'm punching the fist over here of you know, what was a really eventful, you know, sprint race. So obviously there is so much to do during the sprint. And you know, that's why the final 4th of the season, you know, which features 9 proper, well, 6 Grand Prix and 3 sprint races. So, you know, 9 real races, you know. Yeah, there's so much action. Actually, in the final 4th of the season, you have almost a third of the races. So, you know, again, there are lots of points on offer. Free practice 1 did a good job. I didn't meet, obviously, you know, all the small objectives. Yeah, in the sprint qualifying 1, we did struggle, but from sprint qualifying 2, I think it was critical, as you guys will see, you know, how this sprint race finished. You know, it was critical that I was able to pull that kind of the traditional gap of about 1 second of that ultimate pace of this Ferrari SF1000T N18 Formula 1 racing simulator, that I was able, you know, to pull on Verstappen, who really challenged me, you know, in this race, I have to say. And then obviously once we, you know, planted it on a pole position by 10 on the red marks of the dry tires, you know, we knew you know, that you know, we have done a very important part of the job, because if you qualify 10 like Charles Leclerc, who eventually you know, finished 4th, did a great job, obviously, you know, making it up, yeah, you're just starting too far back, right? So you don't really want to do that because you only have 19 laps. But you know, there was a lot of action, and you know, the beautiful blue skies that you see over here, you know, at the beginning of the sprint race, they gave way to obviously the grey dark clouds, and you know, it meant that the track was drying up quickly. Because again, remember, we are in Texas, we are not that far coast from, you know, that tropical Cancer line. So basically, you do know that as a result, even though it's October, once the sun starts shining, it goes 25 to 30 degrees Celsius, and it will dry out really quickly. So it wasn't raining already at the beginning of the race, but we put on intermediate sets of tires and settled in. So, you know, the track was still quite slippery, but we knew that within maybe 5 you know, to 8 laps, the track would dry out, and we would then change to the dry tires. And yeah, we've gotten, you know, to our starting position over here. You know, we set it up, you know, held the clutch just like like this way, released it, and there wasn't so much of a bite, you know. I didn't have, just like most of the times, you know, really good traction, you know, this weekend. So this proved to be the case, you know. So basically, you know, I stayed with quite a low revs for the second and third gear to make sure there was no wheel spin, but Verstappen has already gotten me by that point, as you obviously seen during that pulsating sprint race. So yeah, as a result, you know, we were then heading into turn one, kind of side by side, you know, because I was on the outside, so I could brake later, but I almost missed that braking point. But you know, as obviously experienced 3-time Formula 1 world champion, you know, I downshifted very quickly. You know, kept it within the white lines, so you know, I didn't run off the track, and kept crucially the second position behind Verstappen. You know, then had a bit of the, you know, rundown. Obviously, you know, tried to challenge him, but very quickly, you know, I felt like in these conditions the Red Bull was a bit quicker, so I was just, you know, finding my groove. You know, then I was also attacked by another championship rival, Norris, you know, who almost got me as we were going up, you know, at the start of the back straight, and thankfully I've gotten ahead of him because, you know, Lance Stroll, who else, right, you know, kept spinning and blocked the whole track. Obviously, you know, there is a tight apex, so immediately a red flag was shown for what I do not believe was such a severe collision, but obviously him spinning and facing the other way, you know, caused it. So, you know, then what happened was that we then had a restart, but because we basically, you have to wait about 15 minutes, right? So in game, obviously you don't wait that long, but you know, the weather advances as it's programmed, right? So it's great, right? You don't need to wait. There's no formation lap, which definitely cost me position of the line, but it also meant that we could easily then change to the medium tires. It was the clear option because again we had 16 racing laps ahead of us, so softs it would be a bit too marginal, I think, with them, and hards would be too slow. So everybody was then on the yellow mark medium tires. I knew I had an outright pace advantage. I did 133.1. I totally destroyed everybody in the sprint qualifying too. You know, and this time I was obviously starting from the dirtier left hand side, not from the grippier right hand side. And you know, same thing, you know, again release the clutch, you know, but as we were going to second, third gear, you know, again, you know, low revs, so you know, I did struggle to get off the line. Again, it would be good to have the formation lap to kind of you know, sort it out, but what could I do, right? So basically, you know, at that point, you know, I lost position to Norris. I still try to, you know, hanging out, you know, going into the apex of the turn one, but you really have to go second gear very slow. You know, so I kind of got pinned at the apex, and Norris went around the outside. You know, and then couple of laps, you know, basically the situation stabilized. You know, the Perez and others, they kind of dropped back, so we you know, created a gap of a couple of seconds, you know, and I started setting fastest lap time. So as more sunshine obviously you know, made the track surface hotter, the faster, you know, I was going. And you know, very quickly within a space of a lap, you know, I basically, you know, caught up with Norris through the section where I obviously crashed behind Sebastian Vettel. So that was you know, I believe you know, around yeah, lap at the end of lap 5, at the beginning of lap 6, and you know, I've gotten a great traction behind Norris. He was slow out of that penultimate corner, so I got him into the final corner, which is, you know, really great. Obviously, you know, that helped me out a lot. Then, you know, had to help out with the DRS, and then through the, as I like to call it, the reverse Beckett's, you know, I actually then caught up with Verstappen, and then heading onto the main straight, I was about half a second behind, you know, and then I've gotten to 7, 8 gear, and then just engaged the battery completely, right? And that was the right choice. You know, I just had such a massive drive, you know, as the car kept, you know, accelerating, and the Red Bull was kind of a sitting duck, and I easily pulled to my left, and in the middle of lap 6, you know, I took the lead of the sprint race, which I never relinquished. I took my chance like a champion, and it was a well-executed move. It took me a couple of laps, you know, to make sure that Verstappen and Norris drop out of my DRS range, but already I had 2 warnings for corner cutting. So you might be wondering, why did I get the 3-second time penalty? It was simply because some of the turns, so obviously also that turn when I crashed with Vettel, the penultimate corner, but especially, you know, it is that turn after the reverse Beckett's when you go left and then right and left, right? You know, yeah, it is a little bit difficult, you know, if you, for example, don't get the braking and deceleration right, or if you get it too right, it's too fast, you know, it's so easy to cut the corner, and if you, you know, cut it, immediately you get a warning. So I was on 2 warnings, lap 13, I got my 3rd warning, so I got a time penalty of 3 seconds. You know, at the time I was almost 3 seconds ahead, so, you know, I knew that, okay, you know, we survived the intermediate, you know, section, obviously kept, you know, the lead, or kept the, you know, in the top three, top two, we survived the red flag very easily, and then obviously, handled both starts well, didn't lose any positions or significant positions, no spinning, no anything, but I was like, okay, this obviously could cost me because, you have to stay calm, especially in the first two laps, when Verstappen and Norris were fighting, right, so they had the help of the DRS, they kept within about 2.5 seconds, and then I was like, okay, this is gonna be tough, maybe I'm not gonna be winning the sprint again, and I really wanted to win it, because obviously, that would push me to 50% accuracy out of the sprint races, and in the end, once Verstappen and Norris started fighting, the gap went, excuse me, the gap, I'm too excited. The gap went to more than 3 seconds, almost 4 seconds, and then we kind of kept it in there, and here you can see crossing the line, the 3.5 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Norris completely dropped out of the contention in the end, but yeah. It was very close. In the end, less than a tenth in it, kind of just like in qualifying. That's how tight the margins in Formula 1 are. And I won my first ever Texas Grand Prix, the United States Grand Prix sprint. You could see I was really, really tense. So yeah, over here, let's take a look what exactly this means for the championship before we get to celebrate with this Formula 1 Grand Prix with the trophy. So great result. I was really happy about it. Okay, so over here, let's take a look. So we can see everybody celebrating. Obviously, I couldn't win the Drivers' Championship yet, no matter what. Even if Verstappen and Norris wouldn't finish, it still wouldn't be enough. But yeah, we will tell you a bit more about that. So over here, you can see, how in the end, obviously, the race finished. Just plus 0.399 seconds ahead of Verstappen, but crucially, we've gotten our 22nd fastest lap, 18 Grand Prix for sprint victories. So over here, let's take a look at our highlights, shall we, so that you see exactly how I made it, because it was quite, I have to say, really exciting race over here, and yeah, lots of things were happening. So over here, you can see we are starting a bit of a drizzle, but I couldn't really feel it. But you can see, I didn't have such a good start of the line. Obviously, championship on the line. We just coming fresh from Singapore with a win, and oh my God, we lost the lead, right? So here we kept Norris behind. Leclerc doing good job. Obviously, it can also be the constructors champion. So it's important he does well. But you can see over here that I'm having a bit of a hard time keeping up. And here, lap 4, so basically Verstappen is about 2 seconds down the road, so this is concerning Norris at the gas. But look at Stroll over here. Oh my God, what a mistake, right? So then that meant that we had a pause, I believe about 30 minutes to be precise. I'm starting second, and again, not a perfect start, right? So Norris is ahead over here. Check out Leclerc's opportunistic move, but this is Jan Svalik's champion over here. Doing really well in my experience. Keeping up the place. Keeping the chasing pack nicely behind, because I have to sort it out between Norris and Verstappen, who is the best driver, right? Over here. So yeah. This was absolutely crucial. Didn't lose many of the positions. And as I said, to be basically almost 2 laps. Look at the determined eyes as I'm now right behind Norris. So I'm right behind him, and over here, this was very important, obviously, because I was then able, to get him into the final corner. And this is exactly here. He was a little bit slower. Look at that. I'm almost on his diffuser. And then, let's go, Jan! Yes! So fantastic. So that was critical, right? You can see I got in the DRS. And Norris as well from Verstappen, obviously, but that allowed me to pull up to Verstappen, and here I was quite far, but now here I engaged the battery, as you can see, and yes, we made it! So this was great because Verstappen didn't defend it. I guess he didn't expect me to have such a burst of speed, and then it was all about extending the lead, managing it again. Without the penalty, I would have easily won by over 3 seconds, and that's it. So over here, yeah, fantastic. That's my second sprint race victory, obviously, you know, on the trot, which is never actually, I've never managed to win the 2 consecutive sprint races. So everybody, let's take a look at the driver standings, which I believe is nicely over here. So Jan Luksha leading for Scuderia Ferrari with 434 points. Second is Max Verstappen, 271 points. Third, Lando Norris, 267 points for Red Bull and McLaren respectively. Our Ferrari teammate Charles Leclerc on 252 points, the reigning in-game champion, still well within the hand of that second place. Let's hope he can get it. Fifth, Oscar Piastri, McLaren, 179 points. Sixth is then Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin, 149 points. Seventh, George Russell, Mercedes AMG Petronas, 140 points. On 105 points. 8, we have Sergio Perez of Red Bull, doing good job in this race. Ahead of 9, Lewis Hamilton, who's obviously Ferrari bound. Lewis Hamilton for Mercedes AMG Petronas having 94 points. 10 is Alexander Albon Williams, who kind of benefited from Stroll spinning around right in front of him. I guess, you know, being nervous, he's on 29 points. And yeah, basically what it then means is very, very simple. You know, we can be champions if we finish 5th. That's only obviously if Norris doesn't win, he cannot be a champion. You know, if Verstappen, you know, wins, I have to finish 5th, then I will be champion. If Verstappen is 2nd, I have to finish 9th. And whether whoever gets the fastest lap is not important in this case. So again, it depends, right? Obviously, you know, for example, if Leclerc is winning, you know, from Norris, from Verstappen, I don't even need to finish in the points over here. But again, it would be good to win the title here, just like we should have won in 2017. So this is the constructors table. So Scuderia Ferrari leading with 686 points. Over here we kind of have you know, the outside shot, you know, at the championship over here, but you know, it will be obviously very, very difficult, you know, to get it, because second place McLaren with 446 points, they are 240 points behind. So just like in drivers, only Verstappen, Norris and obviously me will be champions. Here it's either between us or the orange McLarens. They are quite far back, but obviously, you know, we would have to get, I believe, a 1-2 day, wouldn't even have to finish, and, you know, I would have to double check how it is with the sprint, because basically for the 6 races, right, you can get 220 points if you also get the fastest lap. They are 240, you know, behind. So with yeah, additional, you know, sprint races, obviously, you know, we would yeah, have to outscore them, you know, quite significantly. So we will see what happens with that. Third is Red Bull, 374 points. Fourth, Mercedes AMG Petronas, 234 points. Fifth, Aston Martin, thanks to Alonso, who scored majority of the points, 174 points. Sixth, Williams, 29 points. 7 is then Alpine, 22 points. 8, Visa Keshev RB on 6 points. 9 has 5 points. 10, Kick Sauber, 1 point. But now, you guys, I'm sure you know what is happening, because we will be celebrating over here. So everybody, let's be celebrating as we are coming over here to the end of the sprint with Jan Smolix, a champion! Let's go! Wow, we got it, and look at that finish, you know. So over here, you know, we've hardly, you know, had a chance to celebrate, because the sprint just finished like this way. So big surprise, obviously. So let's put on the medal. We don't even know, obviously, you know, who you know, has been the driver of the day. Yeah, and but we know who is the winner, which is Jan Smolix, champion. Let's go, Forza Ferrari! Yeah, I'm so happy about it. Yeah, so you know, a little bit anticlimax, right? You know, aiming here to the sprint race, but yeah, I guess, you know, it was kind of like, you know, we had to obviously calculate, right, you know, that time difference. So, you know, I was already explaining it, the race to go, actually, you know, almost an hour, but no, you know, really it was 28 minutes, because the 30-minute break didn't count. But yeah, you know, we had to really make sure that we had, you know, enough. We obviously won by 3.4 seconds from Verstappen. So in the end, you know, we kept the race victory. So over here, let's take a look. As you can see, I'm now beating my rival Lance Stroll. Obviously, I'm destroying Charles Leclerc in that inner team rivalry, as I went from the 78 overall rating to 79. Good job. Again, you know, my rating, you know, is gonna be super high as I'm collecting these trophies for fun. Experience stays at 71, racecraft at 75, awareness at 74, pace at 82, slight improvements, but obviously the biggest the biggest improvement, surprisingly, is a bit of focus. We went from 68 to 69 now, and obviously if you know, we do manage, for example, to beat Lance Stroll, we will then you know, be we should get a lot of the focus points. So you might be wondering, in this F124 career, what exactly is it for? So it's like, you know, if you manage to beat your rival, you know, or the teammate, for example, you get a lot of the focus points, right? Otherwise, the experience is obviously based on the number of races that you do, and obviously the laps, racecraft, how well you do in the races, awareness, just how clean you race, and pace is all about the ultimate qualifying and fastest lap and the race victory speed, which I got a plenty, right? And absolutely critical, obviously, are the fastest laps, because that's really what won the game for us, what won the race, I should say, you know, for us, because we were then able, to pretty much establish the lead, and, you know, we never look back, you know, once we were in the lead. So, you know, greatly enjoyed the final lucky or unlucky 13 laps, however you like to see it. You guys, this was this amazing sprint reaction to this amazing sprint victory by Jan, the Swellingsson champion, who's now only the top 10, the 10 points away from my fourth Formula 1 driver's title for Scuderia Ferrari. It would be a real dream. Let's hope it happens over here at the Circuit of the Americas. We won 2 in Abu Dhabi, 1 in Interlagos in Brazil. Wouldn't it be nice to win it at the place where we always, or at the place that has seen the restaurant where we always celebrate, which is obviously the Texas Roadhouse over here. I believe, you know, pretty much, you know, from Texas, you know, the steaks, with the mashed potatoes, that's one of the best food, best meals in the world. The champions meals. And I cannot wait over here to become overall champion. So everybody, stay tuned, you know, for the qualifying and the Grand Prix race. There is so much racing over here, as this is the place